we are creating a talk show, and we decided it's going to be called
Autistics Unscripted.
Yes, because that's just it. That's what we're doing. And we came up with a couple of different guidelines for our show. So one of them is that we're going to set this timer for 20 minutes.
Yes. And that we will
then
not, we have to end at 20 minutes because we
we're
know ourselves
unscripted.
well. Yes. And like, we have a tendency, especially me, to be like, blah, 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 blah.
I mean,
And like, we got to rein it
also,
in.
right.
Well, it's awesome. But like, no one needs our 2 hours of rambling right now.
You can get it split up in
Later.
20-minute segments. So I've set the timer. Oh, wait, I
Okay.
got to do all the way and then back.
Is it going to give us a warning though? Or is it like, oh shit, you're done?
It's just, you're done.
Okay.
Okay, so here we go. That's set.
I feel like this is challenging for me considering I can't see the timer. Not that I should see the timer because then I'll just watch it. Don't.
Oh, I hit it from myself also. So I can't see it. So it's over there and I can't hear it, which is good.
Yeah.
Not distracted. Another
reason it does like a tick, 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 tick.
It's very faint though. It's not like tick, tick, tick.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Yeah. But I was going to say, I am big on time. Like even in therapy, I always make sure I have clocks positioned that wherever I am, I can see the time. And I'm like anal about time. It's weird. I'm very like, we have 2 minutes till this meeting ends and we better end on time. I don't know what it is, but
I mean, kind of like hashtag therapist problems, right? Like our lives run in 50-minute segments or like 80-minute segments. And
yeah,
I'm just trained like, okay, 10 to the hour, like something is happening. We got to wrap it up, change direction, change topics.
I think too, though, it ties to autism in that I want to be mindful of other people's time and like their own expectations. And I know what it's like to have an expectation of time that is violated. And that you're like, what the fuck is going on? Like I met with a therapist once where a meeting was supposed to go an hour. And since, I can just take up whatever space I'm given, I went like an hour and a half. And like, I thought I couldn't see the clock. And it was just a little like disorienting. Like, I appreciate that she was willing to give me free time, but also like, tell me we'll go over or that it's okay to go over, or like, do I now pay that we go over? Like, I want clear expectations. And
exactly.
So I want to provide those now as a therapist that like, so even if I'm like going over by 5 minutes, I'm like, can I hold you over a tiny bit? Like,
yeah, same. Cause I feel if somebody lets me go over without discussion, I feel really embarrassed and like, oh my gosh, I should have known. I should have like, when it's not my job to be the timekeeper, like if I'm in a session with my therapist, it's her job. But like, yeah, I mean, how many times have you been to a class or a training and they're like, we're going to take a break at 10:45 and we're looking at like 12:35 and we're still sitting there.
And you're like, I was depending on that break, friend. Like,
don't tell me. Or I can't remember how many times in grad school professors would be like, we're going to get out pretty early today because the material's short. And they would still go like all 3 hours. I'm like, don't tell me we're going to get out early if you're going to go the whole time. Like, surprise me in the moment that we're getting out early. But don't set the expectation.
For real.
And then just, yeah. I think you're right. It's very much part of that, like, my brain wants to know what to expect, what to anticipate, because it also has to do with just like, I don't know, like me preparing my body for what is going to be happening. Like, okay, I'm going to sit here for an hour and I'm going to be listening. So
that's a good point.
I got to focus my energy on this for this amount of time. And then I can like, this probably sounds real weird, but sometimes I'm like, oh, I can relax my eyeballs. I don't have to like look at anything. I don't have to I don't have to be listening to things like those, like looking to read and listening to hear. Those take a more concerted effort. And so it's like, I want to be prepared. And if that extends longer.
Yeah, that you're like, I'm ready to do that. For me, a lot of it is like my body is pretty like one, I need to move a lot. And so like I look forward to a break to be like, oh, I can get up, I can kind of move my body. Or like I have a reactive body where like I need to use the restroom, I need to blow my nose, I need to like, or like, especially for me, like my how I'm feeling ties strongly to my digestive system. So
Same.
sometimes I'm like, can I hold it? And like if that break goes like 20 minutes over, I'm like, oh God, no, I cannot.
Just gotta
Like it,
go.
yeah. So like I like to know time too to be like, can I hold it 10 more minutes or should I
Mhm.
just go? Because of course I'll give
Right.
my self permission to go, but if I can be less disruptive about it, I would prefer
Right.
that.
Right. There's so many things wrapped up in it. Yeah, my body definitely like has all the like somatic responses to excitement and anxiety
Yeah.
and all of those things, which makes it an adventure. But
Yeah.
we're here.
But I think this also ties the like before I knew as I was autistic, which by the way, I have an issue with this. I never know to say I knew I was autistic or am autistic. Feels
Ooh,
weird.
yeah.
But anyways,
I probably
before
say
I
was.
knew I was autistic, I just thought there was something wrong with me that like whenever I got anxiety, I would need to use the restroom and like I just thought oh, I'm an anxious, I have problems. I'm too much of an anxious
Mm,
person. And then learning I'm autistic and the tie between autism and our nervous system and like how common this is for other autistics. And that like it likely will not change. Like I will likely just need to accept this and work with it and
mhm.
get comfortable being like, I gotta go to the restroom. Like,
Time
I
out.
mean, it,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, granted, if it got to the level where it was extremely disruptive, okay, yeah, I might
Mhm.
look at some other strategies. But for the most part, it's manageable. And with my close friends, I can be like, I'll be back.
Right.
Um,
Like, and that's it helps to have friends who get it, especially if they're also autistic and like, oh yeah, totally understand. Do what you got to do and come back.
it's the
Um,
best though when someone else has the same problem. Like when they're like, oh my God, I have to go. Like part of me, there's this part of me that is so excited that I'm like, I'm not the only one. Like
right.
it's,
I
yeah,
know. And I appreciate what you said about like initially thinking that it was connected to anxiety, but like if that got under control, the GI stuff would still continue. So it's like that realization of, oh, all these things that I attributed maybe to anxiety or trauma or depression my whole life. Oh, now like now there's this reframe. Now there's this new context for what it is that my body is experiencing. And yeah, kind of like you said, I don't have to be at war with it anymore and be like, what's wrong with you? And just be like, okay, this is how my body works. This is how
yeah,
it's gonna be. Like I'm gonna make peace with that and be as like compassionate and as kind to myself as I can.
yeah. And I feel like we have to protect that mindset. I've
Mm,
had people in my life that we're very like, okay, how do we fix this problem and what do we do? And like
right.
it really takes one, of course, first ourselves being like, we're gonna approach this differently, and then like defining our space, like, hey, thank
Hmm.
you, but I don't want your advice on this, or like you don't fully understand this. Or even like with
Yeah.
doctors, for instance, right? That we have oh, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Let's not. I'm gonna have to
We'll do
20
another
minutes.
episode
Yeah. Oh my, okay, I'm writing it down. An episode on doctors.
because we need
Jesus
to talk about it.
Christ.
But yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think whew, I mean, we can spend a whole episode on this too, but I think like coming into my autistic identity also surfaced so much internalized ableism that I hadn't been aware of. And I think that's connected to like when people are like, okay, we can fix it. Like whatever's going on, we can fix it. To try
Mm,
to get everyone back to like this one standard of you need to function, your GI system needs to function so it
right.
doesn't interrupt us, so it doesn't, make us late, so it doesn't derail our plans, right? There's this idea that like it's like someone operating outside of the standard is an inconvenience or a burden. And
Yeah.
sometimes I wonder how much those notions are behind like an urgency to fix it and to eradicate certain experiences or certain symptoms.
Well, and that just made me think of like how much impact like who is around us, like the impact of who is around us and like our
Hmm.
families. Like for instance, I remember getting yelled at because we were on a family trip and we had stopped and used the restroom, and then I needed to go again. And like I got yelled at and it was like, well, why didn't you, like, we just went. And it was like, as like, I mean, I was a little kid, I didn't know, but like when certain topics like alert my body's suddenly like, let's empty our body now.
Let it go, let it go.
Yeah. And so I think some of my healing journey has been like, I often feel like I have to apologize for what my body's
Mm,
doing, because of that lived experience of like,
right.
you are disruptive. What you are doing is messing us up.
Hmm.
So sometimes I am like, oh my God, I'm sorry, I have to go to the bathroom. And the other person's like, okay. I'm like, oh, it's okay. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I even think about, oh man, yeah, my brain's going back to like school when we had to get like little passes or had to have like the objects that allowed you to go to the lavatory down the hall, or go to
Yeah.
the restroom. And yeah, like if I was in a like in younger elementary school, you're with the same teacher all day. Like they get suspicious if you have to go to the restroom too many times in a period in, a certain
Yeah.
period of time. And so then there's
Hmm.
just like this whole other experience of like having to manually override those natural urges in order to like, okay, I gotta stay here, but like, and then I'm like fidgeting because I have to go to the restroom.
Yeah.
And then they're
I,
like, yeah, there's so many things that build off of that.
That's such a good point because in autism, there's, one where like we can get so interested in something else, we forget about our
Hmm.
interoception, which is our ability to perceive these things.
Right,
But then we can also get trained out of it.
right.
Meaning like what you were talking about, like in a school situation, you just, with all the practice, you just learn to ignore the signals coming from your body.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then you're suddenly like, ooh.
Yes. And this is why I'm excited to do this talk show, because everything is so multi-layered and there's not just like one simple explanation. It is it is more like my sticky where there's like a million little things contributing to this.
Hmm.
And that what you and I are trying to do is have nuanced conversations to tease stuff out, to say like, okay, yeah, there may be a little trauma influencing this with the autism, with
Hmm.
societal norms, with like, and like, how do you,
Yeah.
it's a lot to navigate.
It is. And that, I mean, I feel like I have those conversations over and over with clients. Not like I have to have the same conversation over, just I'm constantly pointing back to, look, we have this whole realm of ways of thinking about ourselves that have been imposed on us
Mm,
by external systems, right? That we were raised in, whatever cultural things, whatever family things, whatever religious things, whatever, um, you know, local, local, community culture kind of things. All of
yeah.
those, all of those systems, like the micro system and macro systems, contribute messaging to us about like what how we should be and how we should not be.
Yeah.
And for those of us who are late identified, living this whole life of like, well, I'm not what I should be, so I must really be like pretty messed up. And
Yeah.
then to be told like, no, you actually just have a different model, brain and body. And your model works for your model. Like your model is functioning how it's supposed to.
I actually have this as a separate topic for us to do in a future talk show, but I think too, like someone else, a neurotypical person listening to this could also be like, well, the neurotypical norms aren't good for me either.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I want to talk about later.
Yeah.
Kind of, maybe we can also do a whole, so I put down the topic of neurotypical versus neurodiverse, which it is not
Mm-hmm.
that simple. So that's why I want to get into it, as
Yeah.
well as I think we should do a talk show on like common responses people might have to the things we're saying. Like you and I've talked
Mm-hmm.
about this. Like,
Yeah.
but hey, not all autistics are like you two, or like, hey, like neurotypical people are have this issue too. And so kind of get
Right.
into the nuances of that in the
Yeah.
future.
Because there is a lot of overlap and like
Yeah.
the overarching toxic systems that run everything, like I'm talking about capitalism, white supremacy, racism, patriarchy, like those harm everyone. Even the people who are benefiting the most from those systems are still harmed by those systems because they are
Mm.
harmful systems.
Yeah. And harmful to like the soul.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which okay, I'm putting it down as another topic,
Oh yeah.
misogyny.
Oh
But
yeah.
same thing, that like, okay, men are doing some horrible shit. And like our culture is also not good for men, and the lack of access to emotional connection. And well,
Yes.
I will not go down that rabbit hole yet, but like, um,
But when we
so
do, I just got my 10-year-old godson a book by Justin Baldoni that's called Boys Will Be
I have it.
Human. You
Wait, no, I
do?
don't have it. No, I
Oh
don't
no.
have. Did he write another book?
He did. It just came
Oh,
out.
no way. I'm
It's
reading his one for
beautiful.
men.
Yeah, this one is for boys and it's like it's amazing.
Wow. Oh, wait, tell me
I'm
it
so
again.
excited. Boys Will Be Human.
Boys will be human.
Like he has this whole
Oh,
thing on like, let's talk about French fries and consent. I'm like, oh my gosh. I was
this,
like
no, this,
crying reading his like watching his little previews for the book and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting this for my godson.
talk about someone who has good nuanced conversations, like in his
Yes.
book about masculinity. And like that's what I'm hoping we can do in this talk show, is have those multi-layered.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Take over there because I got kind of stuck.
No, I mean you're exactly right because like there is not just black and white, neurotypical, neurodivergent. There's not black and white, autistic versus other neurodivergent. I'm autistic and ADHD, and sometimes I'm like, I don't. Is that like two kinds of brain existing simultaneously in my brain? Or is it scrambled up together to make this new experience? Like I don't know because I've lived with this brain my whole life, but
Yeah.
it's certainly interesting to experience some of the pull and tension between like ADHD Jen wants to do this and autistic Jen is not on
Oh,
board with that.
that is interesting. Quick side note, I just noticed
Mhm.
like anxiousness coming up in me around time. I was like, we've been going a little bit. When is the timer? Like, seriously, though, it distracted me from being able to be fully present. See, I knew it. See, it's like, I swear to
Yeah.
God, it's like when there's a time constraint, my body like somehow keeps track of it
Yes.
too. Even like when I set an
Yeah.
alarm in the morning, most times I wake up before my alarm.
Interesting.
I don't know what it is. And so, like, I don't know, time is just.
I
So, anyways, I'm
mean,
sorry that I
you could
wasn't
have
fully
a timer
present to what you were
too.
saying. I
No, you
know.
could have a timer too, and we could just
Maybe I
sync
should
it.
get a timer. Yeah,
It's
that'd be kind
cute.
of fun.
Ready?
Okay, yeah, I'm writing it down to get a timer. Get timer.
I'll
But
send
wait,
you a
this means
link
we
to
have
this one
we have the same
because
timer.
it's like quiet and they have different colors.
I want it shaped like a moon.
Ooh.
But
Oh
anyway,
yeah.
right? Because we're like stars and mooning.
So
Okay, but now
celestial.
I'm really nervous because we have like a minute. So are we
Okay.
do we have
Yeah.
to stop at 20 minutes? Is that what we're deciding? Like done, nothing else, or
Yeah.
we
I
get
mean,
like
I think if someone is in the middle of a sentence, they should be able to finish it. And then we can just say like, all right, do our little like wrap up chat and be like, all right, well, to be continued.
okay. So
What do
in
you think?
wrapping, I'm getting I like it. I'm getting
Okay.
ahead of time because I'm nervous. Wrapping
That's
up
fair.
today. Um, well, what we had wanted to talk about in these 20 minutes was our goal for the show.
Hence why we
I
set
don't
20 minutes because we
I
didn't.
don't know. I don't know if we did that, but kind of.
Not exactly. I mean, sort of like we just did what our show is. We didn't tell what our show is.
Yeah.
So that's what we're about. Like, we just want to talk about our experience. And like Jackie said, we're sharing our lived experience. So we know that this is not a universal experience for any
Mhm.
any one of our intersecting identities. There it goes.
Yeah. No,
So
I didn't hear it.
oh,
It
it
went
just
off.
went. Oh yeah, so
So
maybe we both need to have it.
if I hear it, does it not count? Just kidding. Okay, but yeah,
If
we'll
a
get a
timer
timer.
goes off in the woods and no one hears it,
Can Jackie keep
are the
talking?
cookies done?
Okay, but I'm done. I'll let you finish your thought.
Oh, I think I did. Just yeah, we just want to be clear that we're just sharing our experiences and any of our we both host a multitude of intersecting identities and recognize that anything that we say here is not speaking for the entire population of any of those identities. It is speaking
Yes.
for Jen and Jackie
And
speaking for
Jackie.
Jackie.
By the way, I put down, we'll talk about identities and their influence on us and our in a future show. So.
Yeah, so stay tuned for that.